今天带来这个号的话是美服2区的一个号，然后现在的话我们会慢慢开始做一些英文的解说，然后也会出一些英文的相关的教学的视频，然后主要是帮助大家对现在版本做一个比较全面的认识。像现在美服很多的攻略都是一些以前比较老旧的攻略了，然后已经跟不上现在的这个时代，所以说我们会陆续然后会发放一些更新的攻略。
Hi, this is Yosu's translator. Today we're going to be looking at an Archer account on Server 2 in the international version. A lot of videos in the past are kind of outdated and some of the things that needs to be changed and said. So we're going to talk about that today here as an Archer guide here for future reference. And moving forward, this is what Archers should strive for this particular BR. And yeah, we're going to start the video now. Oh, and also we're going to be talking about several accounts in the future moving forward for English and English version as well. Yeah.
然后我们现在的话就还是先来看这个海妖这个宝宝。首先它的这个高速，它这个技能的话其实说不上什么错误，但只能说它不算是最优。如果说要说它把它调成最优的话，可以考虑把这个爆炸连击改成复读，因为爆炸以前打这个内单是为了共鸣它的一个奇袭的内单，稀有的一个加爆伤的内单，但是在现在的版本，海妖的治疗爆伤已经被取消了，它只有暴击生效，就是你不管你的爆伤有多少，它都是不会影响到它的治疗量的，只会有一个在输出伤害的时候会有一个改变。然后这个治疗专精这个技能的话，现在最好就如果是平民玩家可以考虑打一个保敏捷，这样的话可以节约60点敏捷值，然后同时它等于就是可以少剩大概8级左右的高速和极速，是为了省钱。如果说是像比如说比较战力比较高的玩家，可以考虑打一个眩晕连击，增加一些 PK 方面的属性。
Okay, so the first thing you want to talk about is your Eidolon, your Siren. Your Siren's not particularly wrong, but it's not the best per se. One of the things that you could possibly change is your exploding combo and your heal expert. Like exploding combo used to be good because it would combine with one of the rare elixirs and give you crit damage bonus. But Siren's no longer actually crit for healing, so no matter what, it's going to be the same. As a result, exploding combo becomes a little bit redundant in terms of its skill and its uses. If you do consider, or if you are willing to change it, he suggests that Poisonous Strix would be a better change. That way you can have Chi Drain. Also, Heal Expert isn't the best per se, because even as a regular skill, the reason why he says this is because the return on investment is quite low. In fact, he suggests that if you are going to change along with the exploding combo, something that would be better would be Dexterity, the regular pet Dexterity. Yeah.
OK， 继续。然后看到这个宝宝的核心技能是这个2技能，就是一个解控，然后加血。它好处是因为它是100%回血，所以说这个宝宝其实一直定位都是一个后期宝宝，而且这个宝宝它对于账号本身属性的要求是比较高的。就是说当你的血量越高，你的经验越高，你的血量就会越高，血量越高你的收益就会越大。当达到 CD 86.7， 这个达到 86.7， 然后上面这个达到15级，它极限可以达到 2.2 秒一次解控。然后因为你看啊，现在这个宝宝它现在只有 75.3， 因为它的高速级数它等级不高，就算它升到30级，就是大概也就是这个宝宝大概应该也就是在 1.3 级 1.3 级的一个，因为它现在这个东西高速是非常的，它高速等级是非常的低。如果说它这个如果打一个保敏的话，它至少这个 CD 应该是在82点几了。然后因为它现在是一个全敏状态，甚至在后面如果说当你的 CD 达到 86.7， 这个敏捷它是会溢出的。这个时候我们其实说会更多的去加一些体质，就是主要是 CD 先达到 86.7 这种情况之后，然后就会去加体质，然后给它作为一个治疗增效，然后从而去增加它一个治疗效果。但它的核心还是一个敏捷的一个解控，加上一个100%回血。13技能作为辅助， 它并不能给你带来很可观的一个治疗值，但是它会持续的，然后少量的给你回血，就是了胜于无而已。
So given that the Siren is a more late game type of Eidolon, the second skill is your most important skill. As we all know, it's also affected by cooldown reduction. You should strive, even regardless of what type of BR your account is. Even though Siren's meant for extremely big whales, it's highly dependent on your account. No matter what type of BR you're at, you should strive for maxing out the second skill first, as well as speedy skill. He commented a lot about your CD reduction as of right now. It's only at 76%, I believe, 76.7%. He mentioned that this should be a lot higher. If you had used Dexterity instead of enhanced healing, this would be at around 80-ish% already. But you didn't, so it's quite on the low side. You're still missing around 10% cooldown reduction. That puts quite a bit of strain on top of the fact that it's not level 15 yet. He's just getting those two up first. So depending on what you're willing to change, if you don't change Dexterity, as a result, you're going to have to level Speedy Skill all the way to level 30. To get that 86.7, almost level 30, so 86.7, unless you get some really good reroll on your aptitude. And it's okay to even have Dexterity, because if you do put on Dexterity, let's just say you stop at level 22 for Speedy Skill, that extra 8 levels, even if you do level it up and level 30, you'll get 86.7 cooldown reduction easily. But then the extra Dexterity points that you put in, we can reduce that. We'll change the point distribution, and you end up putting the points into Vitality, so you have better survival.
Okay.
Yeah.
然后我现在开始讲一下内单。
Something for you to consider.
还有吗？然后我先讲一下内单。然后这个内单的话，就这4颗其实都是没有问题的，上面4颗都是没有问题，就是天神套，然后加上这个后发先至。这个因为它这个是加暴击，我刚刚说过，宝宝它的暴击是生效的，但是它下面这个法魂这个是不生效的，因为法魂它加的是一个暴击倍率，暴击倍率其实就是宝宝的一个爆伤，等同于人物的爆伤，但这个它现在是不生效，所以这个内单得换什么呢？它可以考虑换一个无坚不摧。如果说你是打的有复读这个技能的话，可以考虑去打一个破元机。
Okay, so in terms of your elixirs, your top 4 elixirs are correct, the rare elixirs. But the problem is Magic Soul. Like you mentioned before, crit multiply no longer applies to healing, which means it's essentially useless for a Siren. As a result, he suggests you to change it to either Unstoppable Force, which removes evasion for the character that you're attacking, or if you're willing to change to Poisonous Strikes, then we change that to Chi Drain. So you have 2 options there. But Magic Soul is basically useless right now. So if you continue on down the path they're going right now, you basically have 4 elixirs and the last one's useless.
虽然说他这个内单都打对了，但是他内单等级太低，然后在后面的话他要注意升级一下，比如说像这个中间的核心内单不动如山、天神下凡，这2个是肯定得升级的。然后上面的这个无坚不这个是万法虚无是可以先不用升级，这个性价比很低。然后像这一个后发也是可以升级，就中间这3个要等级要跟上，就尽量的往上升，至少升到3级，这个是最低的要求。
Since you decide to go with the rare elixirs, you have to pay attention to the level. You can't just leave it at level 1. If you leave it at level 1, it might be better to consider like regular elixirs, just because it's easier to level. But if you leave it at level 1, it's not really going to be worth your time. You have to get Late Strike, Avatar, and Stand Your Ground to level 3. So the 3 middle ones to level 3 at least. That's at the very bare minimum, that he suggests you do. Or else it just wasn't worth it to get the other rare elixirs. Yeah. And avoid Void Might. Yeah.
Okay.
And avoid leveling up Void Might until you've finished the middle 3 to level 3 first. Yeah.
Okay.
然后他虽然说他这个海妖技能他不算是最好的，但是他现在这个情况也没有必要去改技能了，因为改技能的话，他这个造价会太高，因为顶起来会很麻烦。就是说这也是 突出了一个提前把宝宝做好的一个重要性。因为像做到这种半成品的时候，已经没有办法去更改了，改起来它的代价太大了，就不合适。
Okay, so unfortunately here he believes that in your case it might not be worth it to reroll the skills just because if you're going to replace it, it might end up replacing some of your high level skills. And it might not be economically worth it. As a result, he suggests, well, that's why he strongly recommends the viewers to, you know, get your skills right the first time. But so right now he suggests you maybe just switch for Unstoppable Force in terms of your elixir because that will still work instead of Magic Soul.
Okay.
That's your only option now. Yeah.
And
by the way, he said your Eidolon's not like the Siren's not bad. It's just it's not optimal is what it is. Yeah. He's just trying to whatever advice that he gives, it's always the he always wants to make the character the best possible. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, definitely I understand.
OK， 然后我们现在说下天书，然后这个天书第一本它是潜龙，然后这本书是比较重要的，然后盘古这个也是比较核心的天书。鹏程，虽然说鹏程这本书它的确实收益特别的高，爆伤这些东西都比较吸引人，但其实说如果说作为 PK 来说的话，其实这本书的性价比其实真的远远比不了点将城，就是性价比方面来说，我们不说分。因为它这本书它本身来说，它要求的是一个很高的一个阵法等级。如果说你没有20级的阵法，其实这个鹏程带来的收益其实并不高。而且就算在同级别的账号在对抗中，其实鹏程不一定能放得上来。可能我们更关的就是潜龙、盘古、离恨天，然后甚至会带一本玉壶冰心，然后再带一本复活书，就可能在为了保证自己生存的时候，会带玉壶冰心，可能就没有鹏程的位置了。所以这本天书的话，不是建议大家都去做。
So he's glad that you started working on Hidden Dragon. Keep leveling that up to level 5 if you can. But he has to comment about something, which is the Moonshot. Moonshot really isn't. He really doesn't recommend it just because it's not worth it, and Rouge is slightly better in terms of its value, just because it's a flat crit percentage, a crit damage bonus. Because Moonshot's contingent on you actually critting. If you're playing against players that are higher than you in terms of BR, they most likely have higher pre-crit resistance, which means it's hard to even crit in the first place. And sometimes even he takes Chungi and Homa as an example, even when big accounts clash against each other, because their pre-crit resistance is so high and their pre-crit cannot keep up, sometimes even they take off their Moonshot just because they can't crit, and if they can't crit, they're not getting the pre-crit damage bonus. So it's just basically irrelevant. Like you already leveled it, which is I mean, it's fine. You'll still be able to use it against lower BRs and like same BRs even, but it's just not like that worth it in his opinion. He says that in order to preserve your life, this is the formation that he's just using, and in the case that you're getting CC'd often, you have to use Poet's Musing. Yeah, this is the formation that you should be using for now. Hidden Dragon, he moved it to the middle because it's not level 5 yet. So, yeah.
然后可以看到这个鹏程
30% stats.
OK
so Moonshot won't proc at all?
Pardon?
Moonshot won't proc at all if I don't click first, right? So that makes it.
Yeah, it won't proc. Like you have to crit. Yeah, and also like it's not level 20 yet, which means it's not even 100% chance to trigger. So even if you do crit, it might not trigger Moonshot. You know, like that's why people who usually have Moonshot have level 20 Sacred Book formations, because if you have level 20, then you put in the first slot and it's +2 levels, which puts it at 100% crit rate when you crit. Yeah.
然后它这个号的话，色尾相对来说还是比较健康，只是说比较健康，因为它这个号是150万的话，如果达到2600左右是 OK 的，这个倒是不用怎么去调。然后我们看一下它的副领，副领方面
so he just
OK， 你先说。
he just wants to comment about your contest stats. Your 4 contest stats. They're actually quite healthy for 1.5 million BR. So he said good job on that. There's nothing much to change about it. If you reach 2,500 at 1.5 million BR, that's considered a healthy amount. Not too much, not too little.
然后副灵方面的话，像比如说这种攻击类的词条的话，像比如说这个是命中啊，还有比如说像强袭这种属性一般是不会留的，而且像是这种低于600的攻击紫色词条也是不会留的。这种就是然后它这个号你可以看到下面包括后面一些，它的词条其实是偏低。它的词条数值比较低，而且我们先不说词条对不对，就光说数值，首先它就比较低，而且防御类的话大部分都是用金条，它不会用到紫词条，除非说是你确实洗到了比如说纸条里面比较高的这种，比如360左右的物扛或者法扛这种可以留，其他都不留，全部用金色，然后尽量去避免一个对抗4维，就比如强袭、诛心、御心、韧性这4个也是尽量不要的。还有它这种百分比的话可以考虑留妖族，但是像这种等级的号建议百分比也不要留，就老老实实的去洗抗、洗闪避，然后还有一些高数值的生命，比如说800加的生命、400加的闪避、400加的命中，然后700加的攻击，对。
Okay, so your enchantment needs a lot of work, basically. So putting aside the which stats to choose first, as of right now, your stats they're too low. Like the actual values are too low. The purple stats have to be switched out for golden. It has to be golden for this particular level. And if it's okay, like the only situation where you would keep the purple stats is if it's the very high end. So let's just say the P crit resistance is between 150 to 300 and you manage to roll a 300, then that's fine to keep. But in most cases, especially your defensive stats, it has to be golden because defense is a lot more important these days than offense. People often, forget about defense and they just end up becoming a glass cannon getting one shot. But that aside, he notices that you have quite a bit of hit and pugnacity and even viciousness. He suggests for enchantment specifically, do not ever roll for combat stats. Combat stats are basically useless. If you get it, don't hesitate to roll it off. The only specific case is like the only odd scenario is if, for example, it's a golden one and you manage to get a max one, then it's like okay, you'll consider it. But if it's let's just say mid range or even low range, even for a golden one, you don't want to keep tenacity, benevolence, vicious, and pugnacity. It's kind of useless. Hit is very situational. For your particular account, he says he doesn't suggest it. And in terms of damage reduction and damage enhancement, for enchantment, there's only damage reduction. But the damage reduction, he thinks it's only worth it right now to go for Untamed, which is Assassins and Barbs. If you're going to go for them, only go for those ones. Get rid of the human. The human ones and the fairy ones are all useless. But even then, for an account of your BR, he suggests you just honestly just stick to regular P crit resistance, M crit resistance, and maybe P defense and HP. For particular stats, HP 700 is what we consider good. 300 is what we consider good for P crit or passable for P crit resistance and M crit resistance. Yeah. Okay. So basically, overall, your enchantment needs a bit of work for your BR for an account with your BR.
像攻击部位，比如说像武器、手、戒指，还有印记，这5个属于攻击部位。还有就是戒指，然后加上这个镜子，然后5个是属于攻击部位。然后像这种的话，主要是以什么为主？为暴击和爆伤为主。这2个来洗暴击和爆伤。如果说你能洗到一个高数值，就是70%以上利用率的一个攻击命中，也是可以留的。但是主要还是以暴击为主，暴击和爆伤为主。Okay.
All right. So for your attack stats, so for example, your weapon, your gloves, your rings, your mirror, those 5. In terms of enchantment, always roll for P crit and P crit bonus damage. as high as you possibly can. It has to be the 2. Very rarely will you settle for min-max P attack. Values would have to be very high in order for you to settle for those stats.
OK，
然后防御的话还是以物理爆扛和法术爆扛为主，虽然说可能说它的物理爆扛、法术爆扛会稍微有点低，比如说金色的大概低的话在300左右，但是这种的话也会比600的生命啊这种要好。
So, since the defensive stats, P-crit resistance, M-crit resistance takes priority. Even 300 P-crit resistance is better than 600 HP. That's a metric that you should keep in mind. So if you have a choice between 300 P-crit resistance or 600 HP, try to go for the crit resistance.
OK，
然后它这一套兽图是比较好的，因为虽然说九子它是属于一张技能比较好用的一张单卡。它这一套兽图的话，它只有5个羁绊。如果说我中间这个随便换，比如说换成子纯，它就会有6羁绊，但是技能没有那么好。但是因为九子的以前的那一套苍力天庭无用，九子子纯，然后还配上一个重灵，虽然说他们能达到一个6羁绊，也能把九子放在中间，但是它这一套羁绊主要是以对抗思维为主。可以看到这一套羁绊，它主要加的是生命啊、暴击，然后攻击、爆伤，这些都是比较好的面板属性。像对抗四维，就是诛心，就是对抗四维的话，这方面的话，它收益会越来越低。所以说，在我们后面属性打造的话，还是以面板属性为主。然后像对抗四维这些，可以依靠兽图本身给你提供的一个四维，包括还有神器提供的一个对抗四维，让它自然成长就可以了。
So basically he's saying your Numa cards are actually quite good. It's a good setup. This is the setup that he also suggests other archers use and follow as well. Hydra in the middle, and the bond activations from Earthshaker, Hellbreaker, Zephyr, and Ike actually gives you stats other than the 4 combat stats. The 4 combat stats are something you'd like to avoid in your Numas, because especially for bond activation, because eventually you can naturally grow your 4 combat stats if just moving along the level, getting higher gear, your Pugnasty stones, just your soul stones in general. There are many places to get your combat stats, but in this particular case, these are good. These are a good selection for Numas. So good job on that. Yeah.
OK， Thank you。
然后神器的话，建议他还是用金属。
And he just took a quick look at your artifact, and he didn't take a look, but he suggests he did take a look. He suggests that you use the rat. Yeah, I don't know what the official translation is. Yeah.
然后还有就是说，还有这几个新的神器，也要让他就是要抓紧收录，因为在后面的话，马上就会有一个协同，还有收录的一个神器共鸣，必须要收集了之后，你才能有共鸣，然后才能去升这个属性。然后这个系统的话，也会在即将到来的魂器版本也会上线，所以说你可以提前去把这些东西都准备一下。
Sorry, what was your original comment from before?
Oh no, yeah, I haven't been working on the rat. Yeah, that's the one I'm gonna use at the end, but
Okay.
I haven't been really working on it.
Okay. Also, he sees that some of the he sees that you haven't collected some of the artifacts. He says you need to start collecting them now, because as you move towards the next patch, eventually when Soul D does come out, during that particular patch, there's going to be a new additional system to artifacts, and those systems require you to have the base artifact. As many as you possibly can, because it's basically going to be bonds. Imagine bonds between certain artifacts. So let's just say Jade, Zephyr, and Fortune Pouch. You're gonna need there'll be a specific stat and system in place for having both of them, for example. So you're gonna have to collect.
Just
all
like the
artifacts.
cards.
Yeah, just like the cards, you're gonna have to collect. Yeah.
Okay.
You don't have to level them up, but you have to collect whatever you don't have right now. Yeah. I can see from the screen that he's currently redoing your point distribution. This is just to maximize what's effective.
Okay.
先给它改一下这个技能。然后急速连射这个对于盲狗来说其实没有什么用，所以一般来说我们很少会把它点满。然后如果说你是想要分的话，这个是比较重要的。
So he actually didn't max burst fire because, in his opinion, and based off of what he's seen in China, it's not a great skill. It's usually for points, like for BR points, it's like kind of like fake BR. If you want to, like expand your points, then maybe you throw it in there. But for now, this is his point distribution is what would maximize your output damage potential.
Okay.
好了，这个号基本上就没有什么问题了。然后还有他还有没有什么问题想问的？
So because you took a look over your account earlier, basically these were the couple of things that he wanted to touch upon. Do you have any other questions before he ends the video or this particular session?
No, not really.
Nothing.
No? Okay.
OK， 那好，那咱们这一期视频就到这里了。然后喜欢视频的点一下关注，谢谢。
Alright, so we're gonna end the video now. If you liked the video, please like and subscribe and share amongst your friends. Thank you.
OK。
好了。